means.
You
I don't know what that means.
don't?
No. Why would I know anything about consolidation?
Well, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I know you said it before.
Well, how I describe consolidation would be like gathering your thoughts together and then building upon them, you know? So what I
That's what
do,
that means.
yeah, well, that's what I think it means. I don't know what it means. Fuck. Now I gotta figure this out. Consolidate. Consolidate. Meaning to make something physically stronger or more solid. Combine a number of things into a single, more effective or coherent whole. Yeah, that's yeah. You know, I take whatever it is that your emotions put on the table, and I'm just like throwing my shit on top of it, and then I try to like work it in, make it whole. I don't know. I'm full of shit, Elena. I don't know how else to explain. I don't know if anybody heard that. That was a really sad burp. That was a little better. Oh, that's interesting. So this is the YouTube stream. It looks weird. I think I like the OBS setting better. Hello, hi, what's up? How's it going? Things, creatures of the ocean, of the sea, of the rest of the world, people. I'm just trying this out. Holy crap, it's Martin Roach. I see you too, look. How's it going? Well, that's embarrassing. Someone I actually know. Well, that is to be expected. I'm not doing much right now. I'm just kind of chilling like a villain. Hey, I went to this pot shop and I won like a dab rig. It's amazing. Check this out. It glows different colors too. See that? It's amazing. I'm gonna try it out right now. See, it double taps to warm up. It's in the warming process right now. If I could, I'd probably play some games, but I don't know how to hook YouTube up to the game system at the moment. So other than that, I'm just gonna check this out. It's getting ready right now. Watch this. It's gonna be good. Good stuff. Good shit. Is it ready? There it goes. It's pretty good. It hits. From what I read on the box, it's a it's called a Peak Pro Smart Rig. It's a flavorful, portable, intelligent, and consistent. Yeah, I watched it the other day too. I was like using it heavily for a little while. Oh shoot! So I had to soak the chamber in isopropyl alcohol and run it under some warm water inside a sealed container so that the ISO inside of it can warm up, and it kind of dissolves all the oils and residue from the innermost parts of the chamber. And then I just kind of swish it around a little bit lightly, kind of jostle it, give it a good whirl, allow it to kind of It is expensive. It was like $400, but I won it for free. It was amazing. I was like geeking out. I was tripping out. I was like, man, I never win anything. And then I finally won something. I'm just so happy. It's pot related. It was like a dream come true. This is how I ran out of Q-tips, so I had to like improvise, which is what the stoner do. And then it kind of cleans out real nice. $400 dab rig. Not too bad if I say so. If I had to give this thing like a review, I would put it on, it's a solid 8 out of 10, you know? The only problem with it I think I have so far is that the battery is a tad limited. So it needs like recharging every now and then. We could go with like around 10, maybe 12 hits consistently before it needs to charge up again. But other than that, man, it's smooth. It's nice. It's got a good little crispness to it. It's like very tasty. It's maybe I'll let the alcohol like kind of evaporate off of that for a moment. Well, shit, man. So, man, I don't even know what to do. Well, maybe I do know what to do. I can talk shit. That's all I gotta do right now. I got like 2.5 hours to kill before anything important happens. So I can just talk shit for 2.5 hours. So I think I'm gonna try doing that. But where do I start? I've been a little. I'm not gonna lie. I've been a bit critical of the capitalistic environment that I find myself in or have seemed to be born in. Like I seem to have grown an acute awareness of the economic systems and how they kind of revolve around the lives of ordinary individuals like you and me, right? It's like I'm not seeing the world in the viewpoint of the consumer. I'm kind of looking at it through the lens of, I guess you could say, subsistence. Because you know that native lifestyle, right? I know I know that lifestyle is tough. That lifestyle is hard. Living that native life is very difficult. And at the end of the day, it is probably one of the most humane ways to live a lifestyle, right? It is like the closest you're probably ever going to get to an original human being. Like before the Industrial Revolution, before the colonization of America, before all that bullshit, being indigenous, especially around like the rural areas, and still living that subsistence lifestyle is it's unique. And like I didn't realize how unique that lifestyle was until I kind of branched out and kind of explored a little bit of the world to kind of get a better understanding of what it's like to live on this goddamn rock in space, right? So I went out of the village at fucking like 18 years old. No, I was like 16 because I got into some trouble with some people. But I ended up in Bethel and I went through the schooling system. So I didn't really have much time to think about the systems at play. The thing that they got me hooked on was photography, video editing, and physics and computer science. So those were basically my majors and minors and whatever you want to call them. at that point, I really considered going to college like a normal human fucking being, which I probably, should have, all things considered. And there's really nothing really stopping me from going to college right now, other than, the need to live that capitalistic lifestyle, the consumer lifestyle, the worker lifestyle. It's not anything like that subsistence lifestyle. Like the terminology of the subsistence lifestyle is unique to itself in this day and age. In a world where all our meals have been carefully cultivated and farmed, in an era where agriculture has been pushed to a degree where we can basically mutate certain strains of plants in order to get a larger yield on all these varying different species. Like before any of that shit, we were just living that native life. At one point in time, I have to kind of remind myself that every single person, every human being on this planet is native to something, right? So technically, like trying to get into that mindset where the history of the colonial life and what we have as the American Empire is like rooted in a history that's relatively new and is kind of a shit stain in like the grand scheme of human nature, human history. So kind of brushing off the effects of that colonial lifestyle kind of allowed me to gaze into the world with a new light shined upon it, something that allows me to see more of what it's really going on here. And in doing so, it seems that I've come to a very plain conclusion. We're fucked. Like there's no other way to really describe that sense of like realization. Like unless we find a way to kind of blend that subsistence culture with some form of economic upscale environmentally conscious model of communication, transportation, and societal building. Like, unless we try to actively build with nature rather than on nature, I don't think we're going to get anywhere as a species, right? Like, so there have been a lot of things in my mind in particular that I've been wanting to try to explain on a fundamental level, but I haven't really been able to jot it down in a way that's kind of understood by me or anybody else. Because I don't know, like, there's so many things that I don't quite understand about the world still. But there are a lot of things that seem to kind of fit together. You can start to see patterns, right? And we come from like a species of pattern seeking primates. So the mind brain is always wanting to look for patterns. And so, in looking for a way to describe the systems at play, I can only describe them as patterns of extortion, right? A long lineage and systematic abuse of the worker lifestyle. And it's difficult to kind of pin down a single villain when in fact the entire like spider web, the entire system is at play here. The same thing that's happening to us is happening at the other side of the fucking country because they're connected within that interlaced web, that system of extortion, and the only way that I can describe it is that we have found a way to both police ourselves and also entitle ourselves in a sense where rather than having a concrete or foundational sense of reason and logic, we seem to want to extrapolate upon wild accusations and primitive bronze aged mindsets to kind of define our ways of life. So the foundation of our like conscious, our awareness is fractured on many different levels, on many different planes for a lot of different reasons. And it all plays into that, that colonial nature, that colonial history. But understanding that the history isn't really the core concept that needs to be addressed, but rather how we as indigenous people identify after the fact, right? Like, so the colonial states basically put out a bounty on every native person out there and lumped Indians and Native Americans, indigenous peoples with black people and enslaved them both. And basically strong-handed other native people to kind of accumulate slaves of their own just so they could say, hey, we're fucking civilized, just like you. The fact that we had to stoop to their level to get them to fuck off is just kind of one of the core concepts of why we live in a system like this to begin with, right? So it's like, rather than trying to see things through their point of view, I think it's important to kind of understand that as indigenous people, we need to like think through that, right? Kind of operate on a mindset that goes above that or or against it. Whether the colonial mindset needs to be routed out from within or extracted through exterior means is up for debate, Like it pains me, right? It fucking pains me. It tears me apart deep in that native soul to see the idea of religion in most native communities. Like I don't like say what you will, man. Like the history of religion is a bad one. And the fact that we have native indigenous people here in rural Alaska fucking preaching and saying the same fucking bullshit that missionaries brought upon, like the whole practice of missionaries is a latent form of colonialism. Like, either way, I stop. I think that the world around us is more of an opportunity to kind of discuss the nature of humans as we are right now, right? That's I don't know. Maybe looking at the history has made me bitter, but at the same time, it's kind of made me keen and aware. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's important to remember that even if we have the history of being or the history of having difficulty expanding, I don't think that we should deprive ourselves the opportunity to do so. You know what I mean? It's like, as indigenous people in rural Alaska, we have a history of being nomadic, right? We move with the land and we allow the land to heal and we give it opportunity to cycle. And then we go about this whole almost ceremonial practices to kind of maintain the land around us, and it's nice, and it's something that needs to be incorporated into the future of the communities that exist, because the world is quickly encroaching as into the communities, right? It's the outside world is quickly encroaching into the indigenous communities. Like we can see it every fucking day. Like I'm speaking English right now, you know. You're texting and commenting on English, you know. I mean, actually, you put a little Yupik in there. Good job. I need to relearn some Yupik. It's been too long. But woke as fuck. No, that's history, right? That's less about being societally aware and more about understanding the fundamentals of like humanity, right? And it's basing the opinions I have are based on that. It's less about trying to it's less about trying to be right and more about trying to be informed. You know what I'm saying? Information is very important. Like, I've come to realize that the things that I have learned and the information that I have accumulated probably goes quite a ways away compared to our, predecessors, Like, they don't need to know the shit that I know, but I know a lot of shit. And I don't understand why half the time. It's just shit that I've been exposed to, shit that I find myself learning about, obsessing over, kind of trying to formulate queries into. And it's like, that's what I love about technology. That's what I love about having access to the internet is the ability and the opportunity to query, That's the coolest fucking shit. I can have any thought, any question, and seek the answers out. That shit's amazing to me. I love that shit so much. But at the same time, learning how to properly find that information took a little bit to kind of figure out. And even then, I still find myself with questionable information. So it's like, I find myself in a world full of information and no fucking idea how to sort it out. I learned like some time ago that I could spend my entire life in school and there'd still be more to learn. I could spend several lifetimes in school and there'd be still more to learn. So the generalization of education kind of became like a very daunting task to me. Like the idea of trying to educate myself to that extent didn't seem worth it, because like if I had to spend my life and there was still more to do, then why should I to begin with? But then like almost immediately I'm like, that's stupid. You should be like blessed with that idea. You should be considered super lucky to have that ability to educate yourself on anything, anywhere, at any time. And I'm like, yeah, I do. I have to. Because I was reading about this black dude who basically was not allowed to educate himself through the public system. And that upset him so much that he opened up a bookstore, and he had a big part in Malcolm X and Martin Luther King during those times. And that kind of made me realize, information is really fucking important. And trying to explain myself to people as to why I think that's important is difficult for me to do because the internet is a very strange place where everything matters and everything doesn't matter, where everyone's right and everyone's wrong. Trying to be a public figure on the internet is, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It kind of puts you in a position where you're vulnerable. I don't know. I don't know if vulnerable would be the right term. More like subject to. I don't know. I don't even know how to describe the relationship. It's a parasocial relationship between myself and the rest of the internet. So you can only take what I say at face value. It's like trying to get you to do some form of research is more of like a trust, like I have to trust you as the viewer, and you have to trust me as the presenter to kind of provide you with the right information, and I have to trust you to kind of be able to back up that information, peer review it, I guess you can say. So it's a very strange parasocial relationship, but it is a parasocial relationship. I'm in a relationship. Now, if I had to describe my experience of living in Anchorage for roughly 4 years now, I'd describe it as shit. It's a terrible town. It's scary. Construction is everywhere all the time. It's a budding city. It's still a growing city, and it's going through growth pains, I guess you can say. I got my car stolen, and my fiance's wife is my fiance's car is breaking down. I have another backup car at the mechanic shop right now, so there's some hope. But all in all, it's been difficult. It has not been easy living out in the big city, and that was expected. As things go, life is not easy. And as far as this city goes, it is not kind, or it has fangs. It's a very pretty city, and it has some great people in it, but it also has some very vicious people in it. So it's a difficult relationship to explain what I have in this city. At the same time, I think that living in the village is more dangerous environmentally, I guess you could say. And it's much more, well, it's much easier to develop a strong relationship in the village. Needless to say, out here in the city, you have to quickly develop a rotating door type mentality where you just allow people to come in and go out. you know it's taxing. As someone who grew up in a very community oriented society, uh trying to assimilate myself into the city is has been very difficult, and I'm still having trouble. But at the same time, I think that I've kind of gotten the hang of it. I'm not a fucking quitter. It's hard for me to say no to some bullshit, and just because it's difficult, just it's not enough to deter me, I guess you can say. I just have to it's like my problem is trying to fucking figure out whether it's worth it or not. All right? Like, the idea of work is not, bad. I have no fucking problem with the idea of work, right? The problem I have is the idea that I'm working for some fucking idiot who only cares about himself, and so he gives himself a fucking raise and pays me at the minimum wage. Like, there are so many examples of corporate manipulation at the highest levels in order to increase the rate of pays of CEOs and stockholders, and allowing everybody else to just feed off of pennies, bread from the table. It's ridiculous. And that sucks. So I try not to delve upon it too much, because at the end of the day, that's just the world that they live in. That's just the things that they knew. That's just all that they've grown up with. That's the history this nation is built on. Extortion and enterprise. That's what this nation has been built on. That's not woke. That's history. All right. And it's funny to think that a lot of Americans The lower 48 and the ones that move up here, they all think 100 years is a long time. All the history that they have built, all the museums that they have built, all go back 100, 200 years. That's it. That's fucking sad. That's a lineage that they wanted to build. And it's a lie. And it's a fucking sad lineage that they wanted to build. Our history as Native people, our stories go back thousands of years. You know, the tools that we carve, the things that we make, you know, shit. There's something went wrong. Something went wrong in the colonial mindset where they just thought it'd be better to erase an entire culture and start a new one rather than share what they had. Because they had a culture too. They brought their culture from Europe and they won't stop fucking talking about it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm a bit traumatized when it comes to like the history of the world. I'm not gonna lie. I'm a bit traumatized, just a little bit when it comes to the history of the world. I get set on edge and I light a fucking fire under my ass and I'm just like, why? Like there was so much opportunity wasted. Hundreds of millions of people killed for nothing other than greed, spite, misunderstanding, fear. It's ridiculous. But at the same time, I try not to dwell on that too much. There are a lot of problems in the here and the now. Like, regardless of the history and the atrocities of the Americas, there's atrocities happening to this day. But I try not to dwell on those because those are considered political. It's a fucking dystopia we live in, man. It's wild. And I don't know how people just are okay with it. I really don't. It scares the ever loving shit out of me when I think about it. Like people are just okay with this. People walk around homeless and people are just okay with that. God damn. It's terrifying. Like, and I'm not entirely sure how to explain how I feel about that, other than I fear it. I have a very strong fear of the capitalist, the capitalist, is the word is at the tip of my tongue there. Model, framework, practice, system. I'm afraid of whatever the fuck that is, leaching and ebbing and crawling its way into the cultural lifestyle of indigenous people. That's all I fear, you know, like, and I see it all the time. Like, fuck, I'm trying to start an LLC. I went to an indigenous class setup specifically to start businesses. I want to start a computer repair business, you know, a console repair business. I want to start a business repairing PlayStation 4s and Xbox Ones because I could do that. And I like doing that. It's fun. But I got to pay rent. So I got to get a job. And I just look on in envy at other countries that have universal basic income and guaranteed housing. Like, why can't we have that? Yeah, no. Why the fuck do I have to rent this place from a fucking business? It's stupid. It's dumb. It don't make no sense. And drive me up a wall. And then after I learned about capitalism and the reality of the world we live in and the way things are, I met a few people. One of the closest friends I have right now is a guy named David. Big old black guy. Cool guy. Real nice. Good with cameras. I owe him a lot. Hmm. There were some other people I met, but I don't think they're worth mentioning at this point. Moment of silence for the dudes. And that's where the silent goes. So I ended up in Palmer, Alaska, learning about water and wastewater. I discovered that the ways in which water is cleaned, wastewater is cleaned, and then dumped into the ocean, recycled. And then it got me thinking, it got me thinking in my brain about a lot of different type of shit. So I started brainstorming different type of ideas that revolve around like systematic water cleansing systems. Desalination is a very interesting one. I don't fucking understand why we have the technology to remove the salt and saline from the ocean and make potable drinking water, but we don't double down on that technology, right? And obviously the most obvious reasons is because if we did that, water would be extremely cheap. And fucking capitalists are just like, nah, bro. They have to pay for bottled water because we need to make money. And then I get annoyed thinking about that shit. Nestle, the people that make chocolate, they have a history of child slavery in Africa. That's how we get our cocos. Capitalism. Without capitalism, we wouldn't have cocos that are picked by slave children because of a faceless corporation that pays them 20 cents a day. Hail America! I'm losing my mind. Well, I probably lost my mind a long time ago. What's left is just anger for the systems at play. Well, I might feel a lot of resentment towards the shit that goes on today, but that doesn't mean I don't have hope, right? You have to have hope. And I'd like to believe that the hope that I have is equal to the amount of rage and disappointment that I have for this fucking country. I'd like to think that the hope that I have is enough to kind of lead a revolution. But that's wishful thinking. I am one man and I can only do so fucking much. What I'd like to try to do is I'd like the idea. Now hear me out. Hear me out. All right. Check this. Like we have the entire state of Alaska, right? And so we build a high-speed bullet train that goes all the way through the coast and through the veins, rivers, to select regions in Alaska, specifically for transporting supply. Like that way, shit, bags of flour wouldn't cost 50 fucking dollars. Small bags, things would be more accessible. And it could give people jobs. I mean, fuck, if we were able to build a goddamn oil pipeline all the way down, I bet we can create a fucking shuttle system. Well, that's my wish. That's my dream. That's what I'd like to try to accomplish with my life. But until then, I'm going to have to try to educate myself on structural engineering and biomimicry to try to incorporate a environmentally conscious and carbon negative system that would not be intrusive to the wildlife. So that's going to be a challenge. So the idea is a supply bullet train that spans villages across Alaska that are non-invasive and non-intrusive and are operated using green energy. Things like solar panels, coastal bobs, fucking geothermal energy. We have fucking volcanoes, man. Ain't no reason why we shouldn't be using them. Yeah, I might be a little crazy. Just a little bit. Sugar crazy, right? Well, other than that, I can't really describe how much faith I have in humanity growing and expanding into what I'd like to believe is a different state of social consciousness, right? I really do feel that there is going to be some turning point in which we no longer feel the need to extort one another, right? Oh, after bingo, my data got slow. Oh, that's fine. That's good to hear. I'm glad that you're enjoying me talk because I got a lot of bullshit to talk about. I mean, if I had cool ideas like Ludwig or Mr. Beast, then I'd be able to like advertise that. Sponsor, sponsor. But anyway, like the only way I can grow would be to throw myself out there like I am now. I'm kind of exposing myself a bit just to kind of spread my wings and gather an audience, you know? And there's going to be people who hate me. Like, I hate a lot of people, not going to lie. The majority of people kind of suck, you know? That's just the reality of the world we live in, you know? I suck. Well, not like that. I'm not a very good person, you know? Like, I'm not going to deny that, you know? If I see a random child without a parent, I'm looking the other way. Like, that's not my problem. But there are reasons for that, man. There's creeps all over the world, and you don't want to be like associated in that, you know, category of people. So you do shit to protect yourself. You create social boundaries. But I do feel that there's going to come a day where these social boundaries are going to be like obsolete and rendered like inefficient in order for society to grow. And I think one of the first signs that we see of this is the elimination of the need for employers and employees to have that parasocial relationship with one another, with their managers and the corporate CEOs. Basically, what I'm saying is that unless the worker to owner relationship looks less like a master and slave relationship and more like a partner to partner relationship, we're not going to get anywhere in society, right? Unless the owners agree to give shares equal to or more to the workers of that company all throughout on a wide board system, make it mandatory by law that employers, owners, they have to give shares to the people who work there. They have to make money if the business, they have to make just as much money as the owner or operator if their company is succeeding. It's only fair. They're the ones fucking working it to make it succeed. And the capitalist world that we live in mutated and mutilated that simple idea and vilified the workers some fucking how. And I don't understand that bullshit. Like somehow, somewhere along the way, society was just like, wait, no. Well, when I think about it, you know, I guess I understand it. You know, given the fact that slavery was a thing, and the worker-slave relationship, like getting prisoners to do manual labor, that parasocial relationship. Like, people just suck, okay? And a lot of the reasons why can be historically traced, at least here in America, right? If you don't have a way to basically say that I am in no way impacting upon the cultural existence of other people, then you are in fact, probably the reason why that cultural experience doesn't exist. Does that make sense? It's like there's a lot of things that have had to existed that no longer exist in order for things that we have today to exist. Does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining this right. Basically, what I'm trying to explain is that the underlying nature of society, no, not nature, the underlying culture within society is rooted in turmoil, oppression, slavery, and extinction, genocide, right? So that's basically what I'm saying. So I can understand why these systems fucking suck. I can understand why the employee and employer relationship looks like a master and slave relationship. It's because that's what Americans have been doing for the last 200 years, 120 years. It's what they know. It's what they know. Like you and I, as village kids, we know what geese sounds like. We know how to make their call. We understand how to safely cross a river. These are things that come natural to us. Things that we've been taught, right? Them. What they were taught was anger, rage, abuse. Take. This land belongs to you, God-given right. Ye fucking haw. That's what they were taught. And that mindset hasn't changed much. It's just moved into a corporate level that has been copied and pasted all throughout the board. It's like the native businesses that exist, a lot of them fucking great fucking people. But at the end of the day, it's modeled after that corporate fucking lifestyle. The same shit that they used on slaves, right? The same model evolved and expanded upon. Master and slave relationship. And then we copied that for some reason. And that shit just pisses me off, man. Here we have an opportunity to rewrite this shit, right? We have a golden fucking opportunity as indigenous native people, sovereign with our own tribal governments, to rewrite this shit. It's like we can expand upon it, can make it better. But there are so many examples of religion getting in the way of that. And then I get even more upset because then I get all hopped up on the whole bullshit that, religion is a cultural killer. It kills culture. And that's what it has done to the majority of native indigenous people. It attempted and often succeeded in killing their culture. I have no love for the church. I have no love for that white man on a stick. I have no love for the afterlife in which they are enslaved to praise a deity that cares little of them, more of his own ego. I have no love for that bullshit. But that doesn't mean I won't study it, you know? There's a lot of creepy fucking shit that goes on in the Bible. Like, it has strong stalker energy. You know what I'm saying? And I end up reading it in that viewpoint. Like, bro, the fuck is here we have a piece of literature that's been compiled with over 2,000 authors over the course of 1,000 years. It has stalker energy because it was written by stalkers. Like, none of the accounts in the Bible are written by the original people because they never existed. And people, like, it's hard to explain that to any native indigenous person because we have been assimilated and culturally ingrained with those religious philosophies to the point of cultism. And I don't know how I feel about that, other than I feel very, very angry and upset and enraged at the concepts. Like, I feel the pain of those who resisted and ended up dead because they didn't think that they wanted to be religious, that they wanted to continue to speak their language, that they wanted to continue to live within their culture, and were instead forced into these residential schools and military schools and forced to be white or to be colonized. I mean, at one point I thought I was blaming white people. But again, they don't know fucking any better. That's all they fucking know is take, take, take. That's the culture, that's the history. So rather than blaming white people, I blame white systems, right? It's not any one person's fault. It's not any one white dude's fault. It's about the systems that exist that have put white people in the position that they are in today and maintain their position, right? It's less about who and more about the what and how they fucking do it. Because it's important. It's fucking important. It's important to understand the difference here, right? I might sound racist against white people, but at the end of the day, I'm just describing the history of white people, right? Native indigenous people weren't the ones murdering people and taking their land. Were they? No, I don't think they were. Yeah, I don't think they were. I don't. I mean, I can imagine some people out there that would make the argument that war is in our blood, but I can make the same argument that polygamy is too. It's fucking why choose war? Make love instead. Fuck each other. Stop fucking over each other. Jesus Christ. I think that a lot of the problems that uh, you, oh my god, you did? Holy crap! That's hysterical. You know, strangely enough, I didn't even understand the concept of white because I'm half Puerto Rican, right? Fucking, I loved your dad's pizza, but I'm pretty sure that shit got me sick at least twice. Still eat it though. In all honesty, your dad scared the living shit out of me. But I thought you, Peter, and Sean were really cool. A bit on the hectic side, uh, difficult to kind of predict, and somewhat distant. But all in all, I thought the character that you guys were developing into was very unique and kind of, I wouldn't say contained, more like saturated into like the community, right? Like if I were to think of you, I'd think of you as like ink, you know, like colored ink, I guess you could say. It's like you were in a vial, you grew up in a vial, and then as soon as a certain point happened and you just kind of popped and expanded your influence, you know? It's fascinating shit though. I never really considered the I never really developed a racial connection between the like the society outside the village and the mindset that I had. You know, that didn't really develop until I think I met another black dude other than Tucker. And I don't know why. I don't understand why. But when I did meet another black dude, it suddenly just kind of dawned on me. Like, huh. I think it was just because he was a different type of black dude. He was like not as black as Tucker, but Tucker's way native. I think the development of that societal awareness really kicked in when I was kind of exposed to the other side of my family in Puerto Rico. But at the same time, I I couldn't get the native out of me. Like it was stuck. I am native, you know. I have that mindset. I have that mentality. I'm no fucking different than you guys. At the end of the day, I've just traumatized myself with knowledge. That's the only difference between me and you. I swear it. But I think it's important to learn from your traumas. You know, it's important to kind of understand that a lot of the things that develop over time are kind of reliant on your own personal experiences. Did I watch Prey, the new Predator? Yes, I did. It's a fucking amazing movie. I loved it. 10 out of 10, 100%. We'll watch again eventually. Dang, man. I can't remember the last time I kind of vented out like this. I mean, I do it all the time, but kind of laying it out all on the table like this is it's a little strange. I don't know why. 11 times now? Yeah. Yeah, I don't doubt that. Like me, I got to worry about rent. I got to worry about these car problems. I technically have to I got work tomorrow morning at 11ish and I got a broken down car. I need like fuck, I need like $200-300. Otherwise my GCI internet's gonna go out in like 2 days. 3 days. Monday. So I'm panicking a little bit. But you know, I I still want to take the time to kind of reach out onto the YouTube platform and kind of throw myself out there to establish some form of something, just something. And I might fail, and this might just end up becoming like a video diary of me spilling my brains out and trying to figure out what's the meaning in life. But at the end of the day, I think that's what we're all trying to do. So this is just me doing it. Lol. And if I had to choose between living here in the village, I'd still probably end up living here because, well, the internet's a lot faster. And there's this really sweet ramen shop that I like. But I haven't dedicated time or money to go to it. So now I just have the memory of amazing ramen. And I want to go back there and eat some more ramen. But I got a job to do. Oh. I don't have access to this feature. I don't have access to this feature. Why do I not have access to these features? Customization cancel. Well, I think it's about time for another dabadoo. Don't you think so too? I do. I do. I do. I do. I do. Hey, Elena, where are you? Well, I guess she's not gonna partake. She's probably sleeping from the stress. It was a hard day today. Like we were driving and the car broke down. It sucked. It broke down twice, and I think the transmission's all fucked now. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. It's because I fucking broke it. Because I'm stupid. So now we're trying to get a loan to have it all fixed up. And since I just started my job, I can't get a big loan. I've got like a $300 loan going. And I doubt that's going to be enough to do anything. So I'm going to try to throw that at the GCI bill so I could still stream and hopefully I can become famous overnight. Cross my fingers. Maybe I can say some controversial bullshit. Shoot me at the top of the fucking billboards. Get to meet my heroes. Nux Taku, Markiplier, Jacksepticeye. Tell them to all fuck off. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I wouldn't say that to them. I fucking promise. Okay? I'm sorry. If they catch me out there, I'd love to meet these guys. I think they're amazing. And they put up a good example of what it means to be a decent human being. I wish I knew what it meant to be good. But I don't. I just know what it's like to be me. That's all I know. That's all I know. And I don't think that's good entirely. But that's fine. It's not the worst thing in the world, right? There could be moments that are a lot worse. But they ain't. I'm gonna go grab a soda real quick. Good old Dr. Pepper. Good old reliable Dr. Pepper. Now, have I been playing video games? Yes, I've been playing a lot of video games. But I've got writer's block, but for video games. I'm stuck just playing Apex Legends, Grand Theft Auto 5, and Rocket League. Those 3 games have consumed me. They have ground me. They have defined my online experience. And I don't think I like it very much. I mean, all in all, it's not bad. But at the same time, I don't think it's very good. Now, I could play right now, but I don't know if I want to. I set up myself for a position to try to sell phones for AT&T. Should be studying that, but instead I'm doing this because I'm stupid and I have no structure in my life. I have no guide, I have no mentor, no tutor. It's all just me making mistakes after mistake after mistake. And one day, I think I'll be able to pass this shit on. Like, hey, don't be me. Be someone else. Because I'm fucking stupid. Like, the level of awareness and mental fucking fortitude that I have, that the perception that I've honed goes to stupid shit. Not shit that's important, not shit that's fundamental to like the living experience. It's not geared towards anything that'll improve my position in life. Instead, all that shit goes to fucking ridiculous things like trying to understand thermodynamics or fucking learning more about the history of the Hubble Space Telescope or trying to understand gyroscopes. Like, I have no reason to think about that shit, but I do, and I love doing it. Why? Because I have the opportunity to do it. Like, shit, it's fucking cool. To me, doesn't have to be cool to anybody else, but here I'm stuck between the idea of awesomeness and fucking working capitalism, you know? It's like, that fucking sucks. Like, I have to stress myself out because of taxes and rent. And I cool off and relax and kind of de-stress by learning about shit that I'll probably never experience in real life. I mean, it'd be cool to look at like the Hubble Space Telescope or something like it. Like, I want to go to NASA headquarters. That shit looks awesome. I want to learn about science and technology. That shit looks sweet. I don't want to pay for it, though. That's what scholarships are for. And that's why it's important to go to school. It just seems kind of strange to me to have to borrow from somebody rich so that you could go to school at a nice location and to experience that awesome educational shit and then be loaded with debt for the rest of your life because of it. And that idea scared the shit out of me. So I was just like, fuck it, I'm not going to even participate. I'm going to try to grind my gears and figure this shit out the hard way. And little did I know, I think I fucked up. No, I'm kidding. At least I'm debt free. I got no debt. So That's a plus. I don't know what else to say about that. I mean, there are a few things I can say about that. A, it's not going to fix my car or Elena's car. B, it's not going to fix my car. I have no car. C, so whatever. Like at the end of the day, the only thing that I can do is try. So here I am trying. This is like the first YouTube stream. It's going way better than I thought. I usually have a lot of technical difficulties setting this bullshit up. But yeah, they kind of designed it to be very, grab and go. So I have the technology. I got my Razer speaker, my Logitech cam, my sound panels. Well, they're more modesty panels, but they work the same way. I just gotta close the door, turn off the revive if I wanted to. And I have myself a position. Now, I don't know how to make money off of this. That's the problem. What I'm doing right now, can be a job. And I think that'd be kind of cool to just rant on about needless bullshit that I want to do, but probably won't get to do, but I'll have the opportunity to kind of experience it in a third party perspective type view using the internet and shit. The internet of things, Because there's no way I'll probably study it for real and get like a crazy ass fucking test to demonstrate that I understand what it means to be or have some form of. See, I can't even English right now, but there's no way that I can get someone to come to me and prove that I understand something like thermodynamics. The only way I do that is to go through an institution, which I'm not willing to do because that costs a lot of money. So the only way I'll learn about thermodynamics is through the internet of things. And it's through there that I cultivate an awareness of it or an understanding of it. And it's through that understanding that I'd like to continue to try to do with a wide variety of things. But that does not mean that I completely understand what it is that I speak about, because I do not understand thermodynamics, but I have read about it. I don't understand the math behind it, but I understand some concepts of it, right? Like the idea of heat transfers and how heat rises and compression, condensation. Expansion. All that's part of thermodynamics and shit. But I ain't gonna do the math. Like I ain't gonna study that much from it. I get a general observation of the trade, right? I guess I kind of do that with history a lot. Like I can't really name exact dates or moments where such things have happened, but I'm pretty fucking sure they happened. You know what I'm saying? It's like I have memories of reading or learning and kind of doing a little backtracking and kind of digging a little into certain things to kind of understand that they are real, but I can't exactly pin down when or where it happened. An example, there's a lady whose body is irradiated, so much so that she has to bury her. They have her body buried in like 6 inches of lead or 4 inches of lead, right? Do I remember her name? It'll probably come back to me later, but I don't know where and when. Definitely don't know when it happened. So that information's just gone. Like I might have a problem with numbers. I might have like a number dyslexia, cause that should look weird and funny in my head. But words and concepts come pretty easy. So I kind of base a lot of shit off of like I trust my brain a lot to kind of dig in to kind of remember that bullshit. But at the same time, I'm very well aware that as the conscious individual, that I oftentimes have trouble defining what it is that the brain remembers. Honestly, that concept has really defined who I am as a person. Learning about the brain is probably one of the coolest fucking things that I've ever done in my life. And at the same time, it's probably one of the most terrifying. Like trying to understand that there is another you that really isn't another you. It's more like an automation that exists in your head that acts as like a failsafe in case you, the conscious, are unable to perform. Like if you get knocked out, your subconscious automatically regulates your breathing and continues your body's normal functions while the same thing happens when you're asleep. You know, your reflexes are defined by your brain's ability to kind of react to those impulses, that fight or flight tendency, that's part of the subconscious, and having trust in that subconscious is a double-edged sword in my opinion, right? You have to have a lot of trust, but you have to also trust that what you know might not always be what you expect or the reality of it. Your brain can only do so much. What it remembers is what it remembers. Whether that's accurate is up for debate. And that concept has really defined how I regulate the memories and kind of define my perception of reality on a daily. Because there are a lot of subconscious like reactions and tendencies that exist even on a normal level that become very clear once you're like put on the spot. But at the same time, it's like kind of interesting to widen that relationship or strengthen that relationship with your subconscious by allowing these moments of lapse to get shorter and shorter and shorter. Like connecting thoughts, extrapolating information, organizing based on a variety of different factors on the spot are good exercises to kind of develop a stronger relationship between you and your subconscious. You know, same thing goes for a lot of different type of active exercises, like just tossing a ball up in the air back and forth will probably get the job done just as much. But the idea is to kind of enable you to allow your subconscious to actively function as a uh, I guess you can say second operator. Like you can have the brain throw the imaginary ball back and forth and keep a steady pace up to it and just imagining that the ball is there, you know? And then after a while, your brain kind of develops the idea that the ball exists. And then it kind of tries to formulate a pattern based on what a real ball would actually feel like. Like the idea that the brain can think about these things subconsciously as you try to manifest them on your imaginative level is a very complicated and complex thing that doesn't even make sense to me half the fucking time. And it scares the ever loving shit out of me because that means I don't even understand myself or how my own brain works. And that's just ah. And that's just me trying to figure out what it means to life half the time. Developing a good relationship between yourself and your subconscious is not as easy as it might come to certain people. It probably becomes more difficult to even be aware of that subconscious the more you're kind of encapsulated within your circle of life, I guess you can say. The social circles that you find yourself in. Removing yourself from that equation, getting expelled from that equation, fucking breaking off of that equation, whatever happens when you are removed from that equation and find yourself in some other equation, or maybe finding yourself as a single variable, like understanding that you are, whether or not you like it, are part of a greater complex whole, you know, and trying to understand the equation, the variables that exist around you to kind of define the outcomes of the life that exists around you is very difficult. It's probably not even possible. We can only try, you know? And that's what we do when we do shit like shoot a $6 billion telescope into the sky. We're trying to find all the variables. And that shit's amazing to me. I love that idea. I love that concept. But at the same time, that's utterly fucking terrifying. To a ridiculous degree, right? To a very large degree. Space is scary as fuck. I mean, other than the fact that, you know, scale is relative to perception, meaning that there's probably hardly, well, there's probably a large difference, but what we define as big and small is not as big or not even as small as what it may seem on the grand scale of things. Like the farther out you look into the universe, the wilder things get. And the closer you look into any one object, the crazier it gets, you know. And finding those scales is amazing. Like we were able to take a photo of a single atom, and I don't even know how to explain that, right? I don't even know how to explain how we took a photo of an atom. I don't or a single particle. That's wild. That's so wild. Oh, whoa. Goddamn you, Gissa boy. Don't be praying for me. I'm doing fine. Send me money. Well, I'm happy that your guys are able to keep in touch and just say hi. It lightens my heart and fills my soul with a sense of belonging, you know? And that's a good feeling to have, you know? There's a lot of the world out here is divided and structured in and designed to even divide and restructure itself around a variety of different things. And it's not inclusive and it's hardly community oriented. There are a lot of avenues of life that are very difficult simply for the sake of difficulty and nothing more. And those concepts still don't make sense to me. That's like trying to make cutting wood more difficult by using a fucking butter knife and a hammer instead of an axe. And somehow I don't think that capitalism wouldn't be too far from that. Just so people could get paid, they try to cut a fucking log with a butter knife just to kill the time. And that's the problem with capitalism sometimes. We end up killing time instead of trying to do a good job. But at the same time, it's kind of endearing to see the unique side, I guess you can say, of capitalism. I mean, I believe that the market and the practice of trade would have existed without capitalism and will exist long after capitalism. So the idea that people are able to use capitalism in order to create crazy fucking ideas is neat. I'm just saying that it probably could have been better funded and probably more economically stable if it were done through a sustainable community network rather than one with a mindset on profit. That is to say that I believe that inventions would be better if they were geared towards community oriented projects rather than profit driven motives. It would be much more sensible to have a society engaged in the pursuit of both accommodation and servitude with that community mindset rather than a for profit one. That servitude shit already exists, so we might as well fucking serve each other rather than serving a higher class of people. It's ridiculous, honestly. And it's funny because the word entitlement gets thrown around because of the idea that having a structured economy based off of sustainability rather than a for profit one goes against the idea of capitalism. So it's not kindly looked upon. So sustainability is not profitable, therefore it is not economically feasible, which is ridiculous. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Fuck, I have no degree in any of this shit. All I do is observe from an outside view and learn what definitions are. Half the time I probably don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. But that's what it means to trust your brain, right? That's what it means to just spill the beans and kind of see how things go. And at the end of the day, I guess that's just what I believe, right? And I think we're all entitled to our own beliefs, or rather our own delusions. Like if people are going to be praying to a god, I'm allowed to believe in myself. You know, sometimes I think if Jesus was hung, would people wear a rope around their neck? Like, what if his head was chopped off? Would people wear a guillotine? Because crucifixion existed long before Jesus and even existed for a good period of time after. So I'm kind of curious if he was like ripped apart or squished by an elephant, what would be the symbol? just some things to think about, right? Now, if I had to define my stance on life in general, it would be one of deep concern and foreboding I don't even know what that word means. Foreboding. 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 The fuck does that mean? Foreboding. 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 Spelled it wrong. Fearful apprehension, a feeling that something bad will happen. Implying or seeming to imply that something bad is going to happen. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I have a very keen sense of some foreboding going on for capitalism. And that's not to say that that's a bad thing, you know. Maybe it's about time. You know, some countries, most empires live for about 400 years. All right. And capitalism is around 390 years old. So I'm just saying, you know, capitalism should go, you know, you understanding, you seeing where I'm going with that, you know. Not that it matters fucking for native people, fucking we're all so far out there. I mean, it still kind of does, because, like, shit, it confuses me that native people govern so much about the inland and have yet to claim the seas. You know what I mean? Like the Bering Sea Strait, the Bering Sea, that area, that coastal region, people could make so much money creating ports and hubs and developing fairs to trade with travelers on the sea. That already exists all around the world. Like Alaska Native people just got to capitalize on it too. Unfortunately, while we still can. Well, maybe not. Not for the sake of money, more for the sake of. Well, we do that with barges and shit. Man, so weird. You know, native people should own their own barge and be able to travel to and fro, you know? Maybe I could get a crew and get a loan to get a boat. Big ass fucking boat of a barge. And then we could just become a shipping business. We could get some skids, could get a crew, we could get a shit ton of shit for cheap, consolidate and bring it down to the villages by barge. Or we could build high speed fucking railway trains and shit. I think that'd be cooler. More cool. I would like to build bullet trains. I think that sounds fucking amazing. I would like. There are some people in the village in Quinhagak that have engineering degrees, like Lonnie Strunk. I think Zane had one. I think it'd be cool to be like, hey, you want to build a bullet train? That'd be awesome. Holy shit, I'm high. Oh no, it has to charge. It's okay. It'll be charged in a moment. Well, I'm at about an hour and 40 now. That works. Maybe you can copy and paste that. I'm going to go over there and try figure some shit out real quick. Buya Nakfa, thank you for coming. Bye.